Welcome to HAI Stories, where real people, real courage, and real heart come to life. Today's story will leave you speechless. Emily Turner was more than just a manager at a small-town coffee shop. She was the heart of her community. She remembered every face, every story, every soldier who walked through her doors. But when a strict health inspector tried to throw out a veteran and his loyal service dog, Emily made a decision that would change everything. She stood up for the man and lost her job in the process. What she didn't know was that someone had filmed the entire confrontation. And within the hour, something incredible happened. A line of Marines marched up to her shop, led by a colonel who wasn't about to let her sacrifice go unnoticed. This is a story about doing the right thing, even when it costs you everything, and how standing up for someone else can bring the world to stand behind you. Stay with us. You won't want to miss what happens next. Let me know if you want a more emotional, dramatic, or humorous tone. Emily Turner had spent 6 years managing Harbor Brew, a cozy coffee shop just outside a Marine Corps base. She wasn't in it for the money. She was in it for the people. Veterans especially held a place close to her heart. Her father, a former Marine, had struggled with PTSD, and Emily had seen firsthand how small gestures, a warm drink, a familiar face, a welcoming space, could change lives. Among her regulars was Daniel Miller, a soft-spoken veteran who rarely made eye contact and always had his service dog, Shadow, by his side. The dog wasn't just company. He was Daniel's lifeline. But one Wednesday morning, their routine was shattered. A new health inspector, Mr. Carter, stormed into the shop and demanded Shadow be removed, calling it a health code violation. Daniel froze, visibly shaken. Without hesitation, Emily stood between them and calmly cited federal ADA law protecting service animals. But Mr. Carter didn't care. He threatened to shut the place down. When Emily refused to apologize, the visiting district manager fired her on the spot. Heartbroken, Emily packed her things. No job, no income, no backup plan. And then engines roared outside. Emily stepped outside to find over 24 Marines in uniform, standing at attention in the parking lot. Leading them was Colonel Nathan Briggs, commander of the nearby base. A customer had filmed the entire confrontation, and the video had reached the colonel within minutes. As it turned out, Daniel was a Silver Star recipient, and Shadow was trained through a military PTSD program Briggs personally supported. The colonel made one call. Mr. Carter was reassigned. The district manager sent to training. But more importantly, Colonel Briggs offered Emily something she never expected: a new job running the base's veteran outreach and service dog program. Today, Emily is not just remembered as a barista, but as a hero in her own right. The coffee shop now welcomes veterans and service animals with pride, because sometimes standing up for one good man can lead an entire community to stand with you. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a voiceover script or broken into scene segments. The ripple effect of Emily's brave stand didn't stop with a job offer. Within days, her story spread far beyond the base. Military forums, local news outlets, and veteran support pages across the country picked up the video. Messages poured in, from retired generals to young soldiers, thanking Emily for standing her ground. What she thought was the end of her career became the beginning of something bigger. Harbor Brew's corporate office, embarrassed by the viral backlash, issued a public apology. But they didn't stop there. They invited Emily to lead a national initiative, training all store managers on ADA laws and how to better support veterans with service animals. The same district manager who fired her? He now works under Emily, attending her seminars on empathy and inclusion. Back at the shop, changes were made. A new section was built just for service dogs and their handlers, equipped with water stations, soft mats, and even photo frames showcasing veterans and their four-legged companions. Daniel and Shadow still come every morning, but now they're joined by dozens more. The once small Wednesday Veterans Coffee Hour has grown into a full-fledged community hub. Perhaps the most touching moment came when Daniel stood up during one of the meetups and shared his deployment story for the first time. His voice trembled at first, but Shadow was right there by his side, steady and calm. The room was silent, not out of pity, but out of respect. As one older Marine said while placing a hand on Daniel's shoulder, "Welcome home, brother." Emily, now the face of a movement she never intended to start, often looks at the photo wall behind the counter. In the center is a picture of her late father, surrounded by veterans and their service dogs. Above it reads a simple sign: all who served are welcome here, 2 legs or 4. Let me know if you'd like a closing segment or want this restructured into a full video script format. As weeks turned into months, Emily's work began to reach far beyond her small town. The program she helped create was adopted by coffee shops across the country, many of them installing veteran welcome zones modeled after Harbor Brew. More than just a gesture, these zones became safe havens, places where veterans felt seen, respected, and understood. Emily found herself invited to speak at military bases, veterans' hospitals, and even state conferences on PTSD and reintegration. Each time, she spoke not as a corporate figure or an expert, but as someone who had simply refused to stay silent when someone vulnerable needed support. Meanwhile, Daniel continued to heal. He started volunteering at the very outreach center Emily now ran, helping other veterans navigate life after service. Shadow, his faithful service dog, became something of a local celebrity, his photo appearing in brochures and even a mural painted on the side of Harbor Brew. One day, a young woman walked into the cafe holding the leash of a nervous-looking Labrador. She'd just returned from overseas, suffering quietly with anxiety and panic attacks. She'd heard about the cafe from an online group and wasn't sure what to expect. But when she walked through those doors and saw the smiling faces, the service dogs, the photos on the wall, she knew she'd found her place. Emily walked over, handed her a cup of coffee, and simply said, "Welcome home." That moment reminded Emily why she fought so hard in the first place. It was never about coffee. It was always about connection, dignity, and the quiet kind of heroism that doesn't make headlines, but changes lives all the same. She often remembered her father's words: "Doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it." And now, thanks to one courageous act, a fired manager had become a national advocate, and a quiet coffee shop had become a symbol of hope for veterans everywhere. Let me know if you'd like help wrapping this into a final outro or formatting it for narration. As Emily's outreach work continued to grow, she began receiving letters, hundreds of them, from veterans and their families. Some were from people who had never stepped into Harbor Brew but had seen her story online. They shared memories of service, moments of struggle, and how a simple story about a woman standing up for a man and his dog had reminded them that they weren't forgotten. One letter stood out. It came from a father whose son had served overseas and returned with invisible scars. He wrote, "My son hadn't left his room in months. After watching your story, he asked me to take him to a coffee shop, not just any shop, but one that feels like Harbor Brew." That was the first time he smiled in a long time. Emily read the letter twice. Then she cried. With the support of Colonel Briggs and several veterans organizations, Emily helped launch a national network of coffee shops trained to support veterans with service animals. Each location followed the same guiding principle: no one is just a customer. Everyone has a story, and every story matters. The project was named Operation Welcome Home, and Emily was at the heart of it. But even as her work expanded, she never forgot where it began. Every Wednesday, she returned to Harbor Brew for Veterans Coffee Hour, refilling cups, laughing with old friends, and listening. Always listening. One morning, she noticed a new photo on the wall. It was of her, standing beside Daniel and Shadow, taken on the day of that now famous confrontation. Someone had added a plaque beneath it that read, "One person stood up, and an entire nation took notice." Emily smiled, her heart full. What began as a moment of courage had turned into a movement of compassion, proving that sometimes the most extraordinary change begins with the most ordinary act, doing the right thing when it matters most. Let me know if you'd like a final outro or a version adapted for video narration or voiceover pacing. In a world where it's easy to look the other way, Emily's story reminds us that doing the right thing, especially when it's uncomfortable, can spark a chain reaction far greater than we imagine. She didn't stand up to be a hero. She stood up because it was right. And in doing so, she inspired a movement that brought healing, unity, and hope to countless others. Whether you're a business owner, a customer, a veteran, or just someone trying to do their best each day, remember this: kindness backed by courage can change lives. Even when it costs you something in the moment, standing up for what's right will never be something you regret. What would you have done in Emily's shoes? Have you ever witnessed, or been part of, a moment where someone stood up for another? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters, and you never know who it might inspire. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a powerful new episode right here on HAI Stories, where real moments become unforgettable lessons. Together, let's keep the spirit of compassion alive, one story at a time.